You don't need more sleep. You need better sleep pressure and a cleaner reset. That contradicts everything you've been told. I know. Every health article says 7 to 9 hours. Protect your sleep. Guard it. Extend it. And I'm not arguing with that exactly. What I mean is, more time in bed isn't the same as waking up energized. You can lie there for 8.5 hours and still feel like someone unplugged you mid-charge. You've felt that. The common assumption makes sense though. If you're tired, you must be underslept. If you're underslept, add hours. Simple math. And biologically, there's truth in it. Matthew Walker at Berkeley has shown that chronic sleep restriction wrecks attention, mood, even glucose metabolism. People capped at 6 hours for 2 weeks performed like they'd pulled an all-nighter. That's real. So the conclusion becomes obvious. Sleep more. But there's something that belief misses. It assumes the problem is quantity. A lot of the time, it's timing and pressure. Listen, this part matters. Your brain runs on 2 systems when it comes to sleep. One is circadian rhythm. That's your internal clock, largely regulated by light hitting the retina and signaling the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The other is sleep pressure. Adenosine builds up in your brain the longer you're awake. More adenosine, more pressure to sleep. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. It doesn't remove the pressure, it just hides it. Side note, this reminds me of how people use willpower to ignore exhaustion. Same idea. Anyway, back to what I was saying. If you wake up at different times every day, scroll in bed, nap randomly, blast your eyes with light at midnight, you confuse the clock and blunt the pressure. Then you try to fix it by sleeping in, which reduces sleep pressure even more. You end up in bed longer, but sleeping lighter. There's a Japanese concept called kaizen, small, disciplined adjustments that compound. The reset I'm talking about works the same way. It's not about heroic 5 a.m. alarms. It's about tightening the window. There was a study by Arthur Spielman in the 1980s on something called sleep restriction therapy. Insomniacs were told to spend less time in bed, not more. If they were only sleeping 6 hours, they were allowed 6.5 in bed. That's it. Cruel, right? Sleep efficiency shot up, from around 70% to over 85% in many cases. They fell asleep faster, woke up less. After a few weeks, total sleep time increased naturally, because the pressure was clean again. Sounds backwards. It is. Also works. Let me put that differently. When you compress the window, you concentrate the pressure. The brain stops associating the bed with tossing and starts associating it with sleep, fast. And there's more. In 2006, Jeffrey Hall and colleagues looked at light exposure patterns in shift workers. The ones who anchored their wake-up time, even on days off, adjusted faster and reported higher subjective energy. Not because they slept longer, because their circadian signal stabilized. Consistency beats extension. I'm glossing over some nuance here, but the pattern holds. The brain likes rhythm. Same wake time, immediate light, movement, no negotiation. You know what most people do instead? They wake up tired at 7, hit snooze, drift in and out, scroll, maybe fall back asleep. That fragments REM. It confuses cortisol release. Cortisol is supposed to spike 30 to 45 minutes after waking. It's called the cortisol awakening response. That spike helps you feel alert. When you snooze repeatedly, you blunt that spike. Then you say you're not a morning person. Look, I'm not entirely sure why more people don't talk about this, but the first 10 minutes after you wake up, set the tone for the next 10 hours. Japanese corporate culture, for all its flaws, understands structured mornings. Short, consistent sleep, immediate routine, light exposure, group exercise in some companies. It's rigid, not always healthy in excess, but the mechanism is sound. Wake, light, move. Now here's where people get uncomfortable. To wake up energized on less sleep, you sometimes need to temporarily sleep less on purpose. Not forever. I'm not telling you to live on 5 hours. This only works under specific conditions. If you're currently in bed for 9 hours but only sleeping 6.5 of them, tighten it to 7 hours in bed. Fixed wake time. No naps, no snooze for 2 weeks. You'll feel worse for a few days. That's normal. Adenosine needs to build properly. By day 4 or 5, sleep becomes heavier. Deeper, slow-wave activity increases because the pressure is higher. Studies using EEG during restriction therapy show this rebound in slow-wave sleep. That's the restorative part. More depth, less fluff. Wait, let me clarify. If you're actually sleep deprived, new parent, night shifts, medical condition, this isn't a hack around biology. You need more sleep, period. But if you're someone who sleeps 8 hours and wakes up exhausted, the issue might be fragmentation and drift, not shortage. There's also the temperature drop. Core body temperature needs to fall to initiate sleep. Late night screens delay melatonin by about 30 to 60 minutes, according to Harvard sleep research. You push sleep later, then you push wake time later. Then Monday hits and you snap back early. That social jet lag leaves you foggy. So the reset has 4 parts. Fixed wake time, even weekends. Morning light within 10 minutes. Outside if possible. 2 to 10 minutes is enough to anchor the clock. Compressed sleep window based on actual sleep, not fantasy sleep. And 0 snooze. That's it. No supplements, no complicated tracker obsession. Simple, not easy. There's a 2017 meta-analysis in Sleep Medicine Reviews showing that cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which includes restriction and stimulus control, outperforms sleep medication long-term. Medication increases total sleep time slightly. Therapy increases efficiency and durability. Efficiency matters. You can lie in bed for 9 hours and sleep lightly, or lie there 7 and sleep like a rock. Energy comes from depth and alignment, not just duration. That contradicts what you've been told, doesn't make it wrong. Interesting thing about this, once your sleep consolidates, you often don't need as much time as you thought. Some people stabilize at 7 hours and feel sharper than they did at 8.5. Not because 7 is magical, because 7 clean hours beat 8 scattered ones. And yes, there's individual variation. Genetics matter. The DEC2 mutation allows some people to thrive on 6 hours. That's rare. Most of us aren't built like that. I'm not pretending we are. There's a piece of this I haven't fully figured out yet, which is why some people resist the fixed wake time so hard. It's like giving up the illusion of control. Sleeping in feels like recovery, even when it isn't. The reframe is simple. More sleep is good. Chronic deprivation is bad. That's true. But more time in bed is not automatically more sleep, and chasing hours without fixing rhythm just stretches the problem. You're not trying to maximize minutes, you're trying to maximize quality and alignment. So in practice, this is what it looks like. You pick a wake time, let's say 6:30, non-negotiable, alarm across the room, feet on the floor, curtains open, outside light, even if it's cloudy. Bedtime becomes a consequence, not a decision. If you're not sleepy at 11:30, you miscalculated your window. Adjust tomorrow. Don't extend the morning. After a week, track one thing: how long it takes to fall asleep. If it's under 15 minutes and you're not waking much, you can add 15 minutes to the window, gradually. Disciplined, boring, effective. You won't believe this until you try it. It feels wrong to cut time in bed when you're tired. It feels irresponsible to wake up early after a rough night, but the body adapts to signals, not sympathy. Try it for 2 weeks. Strict, no half measures. If you're still exhausted after consistent timing and compressed windows, then you look at other variables: iron levels, sleep apnea, stress load. But don't skip the reset and assume you need 9 hours. You might need structure. That's it. Whether you actually test it, that part's on you.